Family and esteemed colleagues, a question came to explain a little bit the purpose of lymph and why do we have this separate lymphatic circulation that is separated from our normal blood circulation. Well, basically our blood has different size of particles in them, which red blood cells are probably the largest. And there are parts of the body that have to be really protected from toxicity because they are very fragile. This is our nervous system. And this is why there is a restricted parameter, restricted volume of blood that can go into these parts. This is the brain. Their joints are very sensitive, so they have to be kept as clean as possible. So as we go into peripheral circulation, what we get is a smaller and smaller diameter of blood vessels. And when we go into subcutaneous, then basically the only thing we have there are very, very tiny vessels which are not big enough to let a red blood cell go through. So basically when blood is stripped of red blood cells, then it loses its red color, becomes a yellowish clear liquid because it is colloid. It's plasma. This is why the color is there. And these small blood vessels are called capillaries. You cannot have blood with red blood cells going everywhere because number one, you will not be able to see anything. If you have eyes full of blood, you cannot see through it. So blood gets separated. We don't have two different types of liquids in a circulation. In a body we have two liquids. One is the extracellular liquid, which is outside of the cells, and then the other one is the intracellular, which is inside of the cell. So the liquid that is outside from the cells is the same in lymphatic system or in main arterial circulatory system. The only thing is that the narrower blood vessel get, when they get really narrow so they cannot even get a red blood cell through, we call them capillaries. But also not only they cannot get the red blood cell through, but there is also bio garbage, proteins, and other toxins which are larger in size. So this way you prevent them getting into this capillary system. Brain has like a placenta, meninges, which red blood goes in there, and through there it's then filtered through capillaries, and what enters the brain is basically lympha. And this is why a lot of toxicity, a lot of garbage is not permitted to enter the brain. We call it the brain barrier, similar to placenta that protects the baby. This is how brain is being protected from loads of garbage that circulates our blood. Now, as blood is being pushed through arteries, it goes into smaller and smaller arteries, and finally it goes through capillaries. This way we scratch our skin and we don't bleed. We just had this yellowish liquid coming out. This is lymph or plasma. If you have deeper cut, yeah, now you get to the artery because you go deeper where the blood vessels are larger. Now what happens is once when blood is in all this subcutaneous tissue, all this connective tissue, all these outskirts of tissues where only lymphatic system can function, where only plasma can enter, no red blood cells, then they have to be collected back into the blood. But there are places on our body where we can get garbage or toxicity from the outside that did not come from our body, from inside the body. Remember, we have skin, and skin is absorbent. It is not a steel wall. It is porous, like cells. And this is why body uses it to control temperature through evaporation, but also through it, it eliminates some toxicity in a case that the toxicity of the body is higher. And we know that sweat is salty, so we are losing minerals through evaporation. And if plasma, water with salt, with minerals, can come out of the body, well, then it can come in, and we know it. Every divers know when you put your dive suit on and you go in the water, after about 20 minutes you have to urinate, and you are very aware of it because it gets warm in your suit. And after that you start urinating every 10 minutes or every 5 minutes. Longer you stay. Why? Because you are absorbing seawater through your skin, and through kidneys you are eliminating the surplus of water and of minerals that you have absorbed. Actually, you are cleansing. This is a perfect cleanse of the extracellular liquid. Now, when we eat something, things cannot just from intestines appear in blood. They have to pass the cellular barrier. So they have to actually be absorbed through the cells of intestines to get into intestinal wall before they can be put into the bloodstream or eliminated back where they came from, back into the intestine. It happens both ways. This is why our intestines, the absorbent part, above it, it's all loaded with lymph nodes. What are the lymph nodes? Lymph nodes are kidney-like structures that they're absorbing actually the plasma that is in a tissue around them. And remember, this is stuff that has been brought into the cellular wall from the intestines. So you cannot absorb just about anything. You cannot even absorb sugar if you don't have transporter for it. It has to be transported. Proteins cannot be transported. You only transport amino acids. You don't have transporter for proteins. Vitamins, they have to be transported. Everything has to be transported. Only water and very finely dissolved minerals that can go through cellular membrane passively, they can enter through this part. And because there could be toxicity in the same size, it can be filtered through and end up in the tissue around the intestine. So you have there lymph nodes that will absorb this liquid. And the purpose of lymph node is something between kidney and liver. It is basically absorbing, and then it has lymphocytes, white blood cells, which then it can use to attack if something has to be destroyed, if it's, for example, foreign protein that came through the skin or that managed to go through the intestinal wall, because intestinal wall is inflamed, it doesn't work properly. Now this, I don't even believe that protein can go through, but yeah, we have egg allergies, for example, or allergies to peanuts. Well, the allergen, most likely protein, very small, managed to pass through and end up in the blood. Well, now your lymph nodes should absorb it, because they are strategically positioned in areas where the body can absorb something from the outside. So plenty of them you have around your intestines, but then also subcutaneously wherever you perspire more. So neck area, armpits, prepucium, your crotch. Why? Because where you perspire more toxicity comes. And then you have these lymph nodes checking through it, absorbing and neutralizing. So they also produce chemicals similar to liver that is going to neutralize the toxin, and then is being pushed into the lymphatic system. Now, the more toxicity comes, the more active becomes then the gland, and on top of it, if it becomes dehydrated, then the need for extra plasma to hydrate it occurs, same like in any other tissue, and we can go into forced hydration, which causes inflammation, and the lymph node can become inflamed. Now, in animals, this system is functioning extremely well. In humans, not so. Why? Because lymph nodes greatly depend on lymphatic cells to destroy the intruder, being it bacteria, fungus, foreign protein, whatever. But as I have mentioned before, that our white blood cells, they are garbage baggers. They are not our immune mechanism. They basically collect the garbage and destroy it. So the garbage has to be marked, because white blood cells have no clue. They are like janitors in an art gallery basement. Anything can be art. So it's very difficult to know what you throw out and what you don't throw out. It has to be labeled. A painter's painting ladder. It could be something that is just dirty of paint and should be washed or discarded, or if Picasso made it dirty, it becomes art. So it is now necessary for the system to be labeled. What has to be destroyed and what not. And body normally produces GCMF protein to label it. Well, as I have explained through my other videos, especially whenever I speak about glucose and problems with carbohydrates, that big issue is not only sugar and reprogramming, but also the absence of production of GCMF in animals and humans that start eating dietary carbohydrate. Because the NAGA gene pair, that is, its duty is basically to send instructions to cells how to produce the GCMF. If it vibrates on different level when glucose comes in, it starts sending different instructions. It starts sending instructions to the cell how to produce nagalase enzyme, glucoside hydrolase, to hydrolyze glucose so it can be then used in energy production. So when we become glucoholics, all of a sudden we lose the ability labeling in a body what has to be destroyed and what not. So you have a crap coming in that should be marked, that animal marks, but we don't. So a lot of it passes through and goes into our blood circulation, creating allergies and other problems. Now, lymphatic system is very important when the body works properly. Unfortunately, almost all people are glucoholics in different stages, and the system doesn't work well. And this is why we have a growth of tumors, and we have bacteria and fungus in our body which is not being attacked because it is not being labeled. Since our bodies have shifted genetics into a plant world, so now the body cannot properly work. Animal body that is meant to run on fat is now being fed by glucose, so the hiccups start. And more of the glucose you put, more toxic element, which is basically shifting your genetics further and further away from the animal type of metabolism to the plant type of metabolism, and creates problems. And absence of GCMF protein is a very big problem. So even that you have all the systems available to do a good job, they cannot do the good job because they have switched genetically to run on different fuel, so they have to readjust the cellular behavior. And you know, normally you can never be comfortable sitting on two chairs at the same time. So it is necessary to correct diet so our system works properly. Now, what makes the lymphatic flow in one direction is a system of valves which are positioned in such a manner that as the buildup of pressure happens, because there is more liquid, it goes through the valve but only in one direction. It cannot go back. And tap, pop, 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 it's pushing it. And then on the other side, the lymph that is being collected through the lymph nodes and then goes through a little wider system of lymphatic, we can call them veins, and they all lead towards chest, thorax, and finally enter vena cava before the heart, where the suction is the strongest. So the suction basically relieves the pressure, and the back pressure is pushing it forward. And this lymphatic system is slow circulating system. What makes it circulate faster is our movement. When we move, we increase the speed of the heart contractions, so we increase the speed of circulation of the blood, which then increases the movement of the lymphatic system. Because the lymphatic lympha flows very slowly, especially in the periphery, the further away in periphery it is, the slower it moves, it can easily become stagnant. And lower amount of blood we have, because we have low amount of plasma, because we are low on salts, on minerals, then the peripheral circulation almost stops. This is why many people go through lymphatic massages, and I always say, when you start with hydration, do some lymphatic massage. And lymphatic massage is very soft, because we are talking about subcutaneous tissue. So just move a little bit lightly, just move a little bit, all the plasma to go into the main system. From your face, just move, rub it a little bit, just let it go, push it a little bit. This is why when we have been dehydrated for a while, with low blood levels, the stagnation was there in the subcutaneous tissue, in the connective tissue. And when we start drinking plasma, the buildup starts coming in, and now the capillaries are very dry on a cellular level, so they even squeeze more. They cannot function. And what happens in our eyes? We get dry eyes, nothing flows well. Then through arteries we can get a little bit of plasma that increases there, but it cannot drain. You get pressure. You can, very often this happens in eyes, because eyes are depending on this lymphatic circulation. But the same thing happens in our knees. And what happens? We start draining liquid there. Happens in eye too. The pressure starts growing. As it grows, since eye is busier with muscle tissue on one side than on the other, as the pressure builds up, the eye doesn't swell equally. It swells, it elongates. And of course, you cannot focus. There come your eyesight problems, some of them. It is very important to move this lymph. More we are sedentary, like me on a chair almost all day, well, lymph barely moves. So we have to go and do some work. I pick up weights from time to time, but I feel best when I do some kickboxing, because you are jumping. Jumping is very good. Jogging, sprints and jogging intermittent. This is a great exercise. Just to get to speed up the blood circulation, to get the lymph moving faster. Now, very often, areas which are more polluted in a body, more pollution ends up in the subcutaneous tissue and in the connective tissue that is being then drawn through the lymph nodes. And now if lymph nodes have been dehydrated, because basically there is not enough plasma, and the plasma that is there is toxic, because there is not enough cleaning going on. We have a toxic blood, toxic plasma. One goes in hand with the other. Lymph nodes themselves on a cellular level become dehydrated, prone to inflammation, forced hydration. When a woman has, let's say, tumor in the breast, that area then is more toxic. So the lymph nodes here are going to be more affected. Now doctors know already, wow, lymph nodes will start getting swollen and they're going to be painful, let's just take them out. And then do this baloney, they do this shit, taking the lymph nodes out. And this way they are basically debilitating body, preventing it to work properly. Why they do this? Because they don't know how to heal and they don't understand what's going on. And it's all about hydration. All about hydration. And having enough plasma in the body so the cleansing organs can cleanse the blood and plasma. Same what is happening in a kidney. It's all double-phase tissue. They're all reactors. They create cups, we call it capsule in a lymph node, which is basically a reactor full of plasma, and through it now you have an artery coiled in, and then vein that picks it back, and here comes to energetic exchanges of pull and push, magnetogravitational fields, rely to frequencies, and here where cleansing occurs. Same occurs in lymph node as it occurs in kidney, but on different scale, with the difference that a lymph node also, like a liver, will produce antidote and shoot it, and has a white blood cells that are supposed to do the cleanup, which sometimes they can do, but most of the time they can't because nothing is marked. So this is why not only hydration, but a change of diet is absolutely crucial for our body to work properly. And yes, our cells can use glucose and they can use fat to produce energy. And they use both, but they are built and everything is prepared for daily usage of fat for energy production, and glucose is being used only by some organs which are necessary in life-saving situations. When we are in a stress, if we are in the danger of losing our life because of our enemy, then the brain has to find solutions and muscles have to execute them, and this is where you have glycogen accumulation, and only under influence of stress hormones they break down and make glucose available, and only for brain cells and cells of muscles. No other cell in the body gets this privilege, with the exception that the stress may last longer, and this is why as soon as this happens, we have another storage, little bigger storage of glycogen in the liver. So this gets released, glucose is being released into the blood, only liver can do this. And then to penetrate the cells of the muscles and nerves so they receive more energy, immediate, insulin has to be pumped into the system, into the blood, because otherwise the sugar from the blood vessel is entering the cells through absorbing mechanism through transporter GLUT. But this is too slow when energy has to be produced, and this is why insulin is being used. So the premonition that we doctors have when we finish the stupid school we have to be in, we think that on normal basis insulin has to be supplied into the bloodstream so the body can work properly. This is not so. It doesn't happen in animals, should not happen in our body. Only in stressful situations. But because we start eating the crap, now the body has to find solution to deal with it, and it puts itself like in a stress situation. It activates the same mechanism, shooting insulin into the blood so the cells can take care of the sugar. This works for some time until absorption becomes too strong and we start absorbing too much sugar, and we go into diabetes and we go into many other, especially circulatory problems, because of constant presence of abrasive insulin in the blood. Now we have shifted now from lymphatic system, but this is the problem that is created with our educational system. We put everything into neat boxes, and then we say, okay, this box is this box is this, and they don't have nothing to do together. Well, it's not true. Actually, the whole life is nothing more than ocean of energy in variety of vibrations. And this is why when one thing vibrates, the whole ocean knows about it. We are being told that shark senses blood, and you cut yourself, one drop of blood comes, and you'll have sharks running all over the place. This is big baloney. It takes a while for the blood to go through and have the scent being pushed. And what shark and other predator fish react to is a vibration. And by the vibration, the predator already knows not only that something is having problem that could be easy prey, but know the size of it. When I spear small fish, barracudas are there right away. Sharks, doesn't bother. When I spear big fish, shark appears seemingly from nowhere. And immediately, because that one movement of fish in distress, and this goes through the water like sound. And this is what attracts fish. It's not the blood. Yeah, blood later, but how much fishermen know how much they have to chum to attract something. You gotta put buckets of blood and wait for half hour, 2 hours before actually predators start showing up. So again, we are being told stories and we just gobble them and take them for true. It has nothing to do with the truth. The truth comes through experience. But then, even when we have experience, then we shy of sharing the experience because we don't want to be called morons. I'm sure even now, but before I was called all kinds of names. My colleagues were telling me, where have you studied? Oh, Croatia. Well, they know nothing, you should. These schools are worth nothing. Okay, we are being discouraged from expressing our experience. And this is knowledge. Knowledge is not what you have heard and what you read. This is information. You know only through experience. Now, it does not have to be personal, but at least you have to witness it. So, this is why I say, you want to heal, there is a self-healer's protocol. Follow it. But then, if you have any chronic problem, it is much better to be guided through it just because we misinterpret all the symptoms. Blood pressure goes up. Oh, salt, it's going to destroy my kidneys. No, I cannot have it. Heart palpitation goes up. Oh, salt, it's just going to kill me. I cannot have it. Or cholesterol, yeah, I'm eating this fat I should not. Because we absorb all the stupidities we are being told, and we don't even follow reaction of our body, how body reacts. But when body reacts, then we put the blame right away to what we have heard. But we conveniently ignore the fact that when we are swimming in the ocean, we feel great. Blood pressure drops. And we ignore the fact that our body is soaking extremely salty water. So if salt is supposed to raise blood pressure, how come it drops when we are swimming in the seawater? Again, because we don't pay attention to our experiences, we rely on the stupidities we are being told, and we take them for facts. Well, this is changing. And I know to most people who just stumble upon my videos, you will have the same reaction as many had before. They think I am ridiculous, being ridiculous, I am out there, I am misled, I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, read more, watch more videos, more you hear, and then start observing, and then start experimenting. Once, especially if you have many chronic problems, once when you go through the self-healers protocol yourself, and you experience, more diarrhea, more pain, more sweating, fever, whatever, and then you see through following the explanations. This is why I explain everything. I explain the mechanics of it. Then you start learning how body actually works. Tachycardia has nothing to do with some problem with the heart. It's your body reacting to either higher toxicity, or something has to be eliminated, or something has to be provided that cells are searching for. All this is going to speed up the heart. So everything has a reason what happens in the body. Only we have been misled that the reason is always some kind of a pathogen, which is not the case. Yes, toxic vibration could be a thought. Okay, so lymphatic circulation, getting back to it, very important. And the more plasma you take during the self-healers protocol, it is going to be penetrating deeper and deeper into the outskirts and poking up and re-energizing, and then also reabsorbing the toxic elements which were stuck there, could not move, going back into circulation. So your blood toxicity actually increases because of this. And then you have to drink enough plasma to eliminate it. Some people make the mistake. They take some plasma because they're afraid of salt. They're afraid, no, I'm going to start slowly. So they increase slowly. So more and more toxicity from periphery starts coming into the blood, but the level of plasma is not high enough for cleansing organs to work. So now we are increasing toxicity and everything starts hurting. And we say, oh, no drinking plasma, this is bad for me. Again, if you have problem, chronic problem with health, let be guided. I won't be able to guide everybody. So far, I can still handle it. Why? Because although many people read my articles, very few are doing the protocol. Some of those who are doing it, they are in good enough health that the basic protocol doesn't scare them. They read enough articles so they can handle it, and this is why it's called self-healing protocol. You don't need anybody. But the more problematic you are, the older you are, or the more sickly you are, the strongest symptoms you are going to have during the detox process, and guidance of experienced person that already went through this is necessary. So ask your friends who have been on the protocol, what's going on? You don't have to ask me. And everybody who has been through the protocol and had benefit of it, experience it themselves, they are better equipped than any doctor that came from university to help another human being or animal to heal. It is all same thing. Makes no difference. This is why, you know, I'm your perfect family doctor. I can guide you, your children, your pets, everybody to get healthy. Why? Because it's all same thing. We just have to know the true habit of the animal. With humans we know. Only humans are the most stubborn because too much knowledge that comes from books, from what they have read from, well, stupid internet. Internet is great, but there is so much stupid information, misguiding information, especially about health. All these vegans, vegetarians, all this supplement crap, it's all fake information. All these oxidants, antioxidants, fake information. So, we are discovering the truth, waking up. So be part of the waking up process. Thank you for listening. Till next time. Love you all.